Today, we are talking all about executive functioning skills. This is going to be a good one, and there are 7 main executive functioning skills that we are going to talk about today, and what they are, why you need them, and how you can teach your kiddos these skills. Hey there, I'm Jessica, the Organized Mama. I'm a family organizing expert that helps you with tricks and tutorials the entire family can do. These are skills that everyone should learn and know and be able to identify. And I'm going to talk about this and some of these things like non-working memory. Those are things that even as adults, people struggle with. So I'm going to give you some ideas and stuff for how you can build your executive functioning skills. Okay. So we're going to start. There are 7 skills that we're going to cover. I'm going to go through, give some examples, and then we're going to talk about how to teach them and all of that jazz. So the very first executive functioning skill is called self-awareness. This one's pretty self-explanatory, right? You are just kind of aware of your place in space, what you're doing, hygiene. That is really that's a big one, especially for middle schoolers because they get kind of stinky. So the self-awareness is the first executive functioning skill that we are going to talk about. So with self-awareness and the hygiene, really to teach your kids, you start young. You go to the dentist says you have to brush and floss your teeth. You go to the doctor for your health checkups. You make sure you're on a schedule for shower and bath. Your kids know change your sheets. If something smells dirty, then you wash it. Don't wear the same thing every single day. All of those things are teaching them self-awareness. And as they get older, like I said, middle schoolers and the smelly, well, you're going to need, deodorant, or, oh, your stomach's upset by some things and you're kind of smelly. Let's talk about what you're eating, options of food. All of those type of things are really all about self-awareness. The second executive functioning skill that we're going to cover is inhibition. And that so much has to go with social skills. I mean, that's basically what it is. You need to know socially what's acceptable, what's not, how to communicate, when to stop talking, when is it somebody else's turn. That's turn taking is a big one on that one, especially for younger kids. Turn taking and noticing when somebody else is talking, or learning how to tell a story effectively. That does also go with another skill as well. But all of those things really go together with inhibition. The third executive functioning skill is nonverbal working memory. And the fourth is verbal working memory. So I'm going to talk about these because this gets kind of it gets confusing because of the words. I wish they'd change them, but I don't know. I'm not a doctor. This is what I know. So nonverbal working memory and verbal working memory. So we're going to start with verbal working memory because this one is easier to explain. It is when you speak, you say, do a task, and then they do it. You give a direction and they do it. You are verbally teaching something and they comprehend it. That's verbal working memory. Nonverbal working memory, it's not about the spoken word, okay? So things like drawing, remembering, this goes for adults, you forget people's names. Look up how to increase my nonverbal working memory. That will help so much to remember, you don't remember somebody's name. Memory, that's a big one, is just the memory of it versus it being told to you. Body language, that one also falls under nonverbal working memory. And so that is a very big topic. The 6th is self-regulation, and this is all about the emotion. So much about your emotion. There is this whole theory about emotional IQ and teaching kids how to identify how they feel and to not just be like happy and sad. Like you have a lot of other emotions. There is a book called The Way I Feel. It's a picture book, like rhymey, it's cute, but they have a lot of pictures and they give a lot of emotions in it just to give the kids the language, because as you get older, you're able to identify a lot of these emotions, but when you're younger, being able to identify them is going to help, especially with like temper tantrums, back talk, and all of that. If you give your kids the words that they need, then a lot of the emotional regulation is going to really kind of smooth itself out because the kids are able to identify their emotion, what you need to do to kind of like get through that emotion, and then how to come back, to being with either the family or group of friends, all of that. The emotional regulation, if it isn't kind of like taught young, then that's when a lot of people in middle school, high school have a hard time with the friendships and the connections. And then the seventh executive functioning skill is planning and problem solving. And this is organizing. So this is why I talk about this stuff, because all of these 7 executive functioning skills go hand in hand. So if you have, more strength in one of the skills, but not the other, then that's an area where you kind of have to help and teach your kiddos. When should you start teaching these skills? I say as early as you can, and it doesn't have to be so crazy like, everything has to be put away, or, you can only take out one thing at a time. I'm a really big believer in starting as young as you can with your kids on all of these skills. There's so much research about teaching them at a young age these particular skills. So how do we go about doing that? Well, let's talk about that. I'm going to kind of like give examples and then talk about which skills they're going to cover, because not everything is all of the skills at once, and not every task is a single skill by itself. So we're just going to kind of talk about the kids during their day and what you can do to help them really like get them going throughout their day. So when they wake up and you give them, their task, their routine in the morning, right there, you are teaching them and building their nonverbal working memory because they have a specific routine to follow. You're teaching them planning and problem solving. They have to plan out, this is what I have to do. And about self-regulation, because this is what you need to do to get done. Because some mornings, when you aren't feeling great yourself. And so you're like, just kind of sluggish. Well, by teaching your kids, like, get through your morning routine and do this, and you're able to just kind of like get yourself back in focus and back centered as to what needs to go about your day. So you are helping them, teach them to manage their emotions, because a lot of times, some mornings you're going to have kids like, I don't want to do that. And but this is what you have to do. And so teaching them how to kind of like work through those feelings of not wanting to do it, where, I'm just going to go and make my bed and then it's done. And then I don't have to worry about because I want to play. I want to do all these other things, right? And then by creating that morning routine for the kids, like you have to brush your teeth, you have to change your clothes, you have to, wear underwear or boxers. All of those things are about hygiene, right? So you're teaching them about hygiene and like keeping your body clean. Then, either they're going to school, they're playing with friends, they have to play by themselves. All of those things are building up the self-regulation, the inhibition, the nonverbal and verbal working memory, because they are around other people or they have to entertain themselves. And so all of those skills are being built up during the day. This is the biggest reason why a lot of experts are like, limit the TV time, because you aren't developing these skills. And then, when during mealtime, again, you are working on self-awareness. They need to be aware of food on their face. They need to be aware of others at the table. They need to be aware of, their place in space, really. Like, you can't be like flopping all over and everything and expect food to actually get in your mouth and not all over the place. And so then if the kids, drop the food. If they make a mess, do not be the first one to jump up. They need to clean up their mess. And that's how you're going to teach them about this self-awareness. They need to be aware, okay, I made this really big mess. And they might say, Mommy, can you help me? And I will verbally tell them what to do. They're working on their verbal working memory, because I'll say, okay, go get the vacuum cleaner. So then they go get the vacuum cleaner. And I don't say all of the steps at once. That's a big one for younger children. My kiddos are 6 and 7. My 7, well, he'll be 8. Oh my God, he's gonna be 8. My 8-year-old, I can give, longer step directions, but when they aren't aware of their space and they kind of like make that mess, and then they kind of, okay, there's a movie, total like aside, there's a movie called Wet Hot American Summer. Paul Rudd is in it, and it's just like, because he has to like pick up dishes. And every time I talk about this, it's the image that goes in my head. And when your kids do have to do that and they're going to like flop all over and kind of like make a scene, reduce the amount of verbal cues you're giving them. And a verbal cue is saying, go get the vacuum cleaner and vacuum this up. That's 2 verbal cues. Get a vacuum cleaner, clean this up. And because you gave 2 verbal cues on a task that is non-preferred, they don't want to do it. Who really wants to clean up a mess? I'm just going to ask that question because I know nobody wants to clean up that mess. That you can just go get the vacuum cleaner. And then when they come back with the vacuum cleaner, give them that second step. And then you're teaching them emotional regulation, because they have to learn, how to deal with their emotions through cleaning up the task, through, and problem solving. How can I do this as fast as I can? And really focusing on those skills. Yes, it will take longer. Yes, there will be some like impatient, oh my God, I could clean this up so much faster. Let the kids clean it up. One thing we have done, which has been amazing, is to get like a smaller dustpan and broom. So if the kids kind of like make, crumbs all over the table, then that little dustpan and broom can be on the table. We've set it for that purpose. And so then they can clean off the table using the dustpan and the broom. And then they are starting to become aware of their place in space and what they are doing. So they are able to regulate themselves in, at the dinner table or lunch. And then with friends, then they aren't making, a giant mess. So we were at like mealtime. And then let's say like independent play. Again, you are working on the inhibition, the self-regulation. They really have to get to that point where they can play by themselves. They can come up with games. They can do all of these things. And that is, and again, it's problem solving. Creating order in their bedroom or order with their toys. That is the problem solving and planning. That's the organization piece. So right now with back to school, it is great time to have your kids like set up their space how they want it. Any school age kiddo, I highly recommend having them set up their space. Don't interject. Don't give them your thoughts. If they ask, okay, well, do you think this should go here? You could be like, it could go there or it could go over here, and like put it on them. Have them problem solve, have them think about it. And it doesn't all have to be done in a day. If your kids haven't done this before, then really take your time going through, okay, we're going to do these clothes today. We're going to check and see what fits you. And then we're going to work on folding those clothes. And, have them pick out some music that they're going to listen to so that you can fold the clothes to some music. So it's more enjoyable task, but it is a task that they have to do. And so you're teaching them some of these skills through order and putting away clothes and all of that kind of stuff. A lot of this is time, and it's time on you as the parent to basically just figure out, okay, my kid is going to do this. They know how to do this. So let them explore and plan and problem solve and do all of that with, everything. And it's hard. It's really hard. That has been the biggest takeaway. Back when I was teaching, we would tell parents this all the time. And now that I have kids, I get their hesitation. I really, really do. But having my kids put away their own laundry and clean up and, set up their spaces. If you are doing e-learning or homeschooling, have your kids create their desk space and come up with a routine to like clean up at the end of the day. Come up with like a routine to start your day. All of those things are teaching them these executive functioning skills so that they can really get in the groove and know and build upon these skills. Like, okay, total long story. I'll make it as short as I can. So back when I was teaching, I was not a morning person at all. But if I got up early and went to school, I would miss all sorts of Chicago traffic. So I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning, which now I just can't even believe I used to do that. But I would go to bed at like 9 o'clock. I would wake up at 5:30, be at school about like 6:15, and it would take me like what was it? I think it was like 12 minutes from the city to a suburb, which is basically unheard of. But because it was so early in the morning, nobody was on the road, so it was fine. But then I get to school and I just kind of like, and like wouldn't really do anything until I created a plan for myself in the morning. And then I was way more productive. I used my time well. I didn't waste a lot of time. And so I was able to kind of like regulate myself based on the plan. And so the reason why I'm telling you this very long story is because my kids and your kids need that plan as well to kind of regulate themselves in their day. Once they figure out how to do that, they can take those skills throughout school, throughout life, and they will tweak them for themselves. But since that first year of teaching, that was my first year of teaching, and then I figured it out towards the middle of the year. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I am so good. I am done at the end of the day. So my school day was done at 2:20. I left the building at 2:30 and would be home before traffic again. So my schedule totally worked. It was great. But it took me a while to kind of create that routine. And so if I would have had a better routine growing up, then I think getting into the workforce and all of that would have helped me be more productive in the morning. Growing up, my mom would basically pull the covers off the bed and be like, you have to get on the school bus in 5 minutes. And so I would rush to get ready, throw some food in my face, and like run out the door. And I've never been a morning person, but I never had a full-fledged routine until teaching. And so that routine has still carried with me, although it starts much later than 5:30 in the morning. That's why I'm very big on routines. And I think setting a routine and getting your kids involved is really going to help them with their executive functioning skills. They are going to be able to plan, problem solve, become aware of what's going on with them, and the self-awareness, self-regulation with their emotions, all of that. So I want you to really like sit down with your kids, whether you are doing e-learning, homeschooling, hybrid, they're doing a hybrid here, in-person school, whatever you're doing, create a routine for your kids and have your kids join you. There is a lot about the executive functioning skills, and teaching them is really going to help in the long run your kiddos and yourself. Like, you are going to see like, oh wow, like I could work on some of these things, I could do this. And I am a huge proponent that these skills aren't just for kids, they are for everyone. Love what you see? Don't forget to subscribe. New videos every Wednesday.